Welcome and hello, I'm Jaron, also known as Sage. Today, I will be telling you all about my life. Okay, let's get started. But first let me introduce myself. I am Jaron Artolius Ecbert III of Carthia, and the second son of Ecbert and Aaron, king and queen of Carthia. One day Ecbert found a school for me to attend up north in the country by Mar. I angrily protested and swore to him that if he sends me, I will run away and never return. In return Ecbert told me if I did not attend, it would mean end for Carthia. The next day I left and got on the ship. Then I escaped and everyone was unaware of that, so the ship set sail without me. Then later that afternoon, something unexpected happened. The ship was attacked by pirates and news returned to Carthia. Then a search was made for anyone who survived the attack, but they were all dead. Since I was never found, everyone thought that I was dead and did not survive, and there were rumors as well. I was very lucky to have escaped the ship before it left unnoticed. It was Bevan Connor who had sent the pirates to attack. On land no one recognized me because of my skills to blend in with the Avenian people. I still went hungry most days and spent the nights huddled in the shadows.
Yo ho ho, we are the pirates.
The first person to find me was my older brother Darius. The way he found me was when I dropped a coin in an offering dish at the church. The priest recognized me and sent word to Darius. The priest told me he had some extra food, and if I agreed to wash the church steps, I could stay the night. My brother arrived the next morning. Darius described the suffering of their parents who had tortured themselves over having lost their son. After 1 week, a man in disguise came to meet with me. I recognized that man right away. It was King Ecbert. There were tears in his eyes, and for the first time I saw my father as a man, not as a king. When my father came and spoke to me, I told him I want to come home. I knew that Darius and my mother would want me back, but I was not sure about my father. He told me you cannot come home. I thought it was my punishment for running away, to be disowned, but it wasn't. The reason was everyone thought I was dead, and if I came back, war would have to be declared on Avenia, because it was Avenian pirates who sunk the ship and Carthia would not survive that war. If I was still missing, then there would be no war until there is proof of my death. I had to change everything about myself, like my true identity. I went to an orphanage in Chardar, not far from Carthia's borders. It was run by a woman named Mrs. Turbledy. There were tears in my eyes, and from that moment, I became Sage of Avenia, orphan son of a failed musician and a barmaid. Once I stole a roast from a market, and I raced away with the roast under my arm. It was very hard to run with raw meat in my hands since it was slippery. The butcher was chasing me and was kicking me. He threatened me that if I ever came into his shop again, he would cut me up and sell me as meat in the market. Then a man paid the butcher. He had dark brown eyes, a thin mouth, a neatly trimmed beard. He looked somewhere in his 40s and dressed in fine clothes of the upper class. The way he lifted me up, he was much stronger than I expected of a nobleman. When we went back to the orphanage, the man that saved me from the butcher was still there. I asked Mrs. Turbledy who he was, and he said he is Bevan Connor. Then she said rude things to Connor about me which offended me, like you'd be better off with a rabid badger than this one, and she said to me I can't wait to be rid of you. Connor asked me lots of questions, and then told me to pack my things. Mrs. Turbledy told Connor what she knows about me assuming it, and how I got into the orphanage. I did not want to go, but I was forced. I tried running away to the street, but Connor had some vigils which grabbed me. I was in a wagon where there were 2 boys sitting next to me. In the wagon, that is when I got to know who the vigils were. They were Mott and Cregan. They introduced the boys to me, and one of them was Latimer and the other was Roden. Then we went to a small town called Gelvins, to an orphanage there. Connor left with Mott and Cregan told us that if anyone escapes, he would kill them. Then Connor and Mott returned with another boy and his name was Tobias. Then when we stopped somewhere, we got out of the wagon, and then Mott motioned Latimer to the wagon. Then there was an arrow that pierced his chest, then died. It was because he was sick. Connor had told us his plan a long time after. It was that all of us had similar appearances to Jaron, so the plan was to convince the king's court that he is one of us. Then we competed. Once I went to the dungeon because I had this rock and I called it gold. Connor, Mott, and Cregan asked for it, but I refused to give it. They said I stole it from Connor, but he had stole it from me. They slapped me and Connor said I bought you from the orphanage, which means I own you, as well as everything you own, so that rock is mine. When they took me to the dungeon, it smelled like rotting urine. They were told by Connor to leave no scars. By the way, the rock was not gold, it was imitator's gold. Tobias made notes about his plans when he becomes prince, and in studying to become the prince. Then he wanted to burn the notes in a fire so me or Roden wouldn't read and gain from his efforts, also to get rid of Connor after he is king. I could have told Connor, but I chose not to. After a while, that is when Connor found out that there were notes, but even if Tobias wrote them, Connor would not do anything since Tobias was in the lead for his plan. Then a second time happened where I forgave Tobias, and it was for taking the chef's sharpest knife and cutting me. I could have reported that he stole a knife, but Connor would not have forgave him, so he had to agree to my terms. I lied and said to anyone that asked me, like Mott and Errol, that the cut was caused by me trying to climb out a window. Veldergrath was coming to Connor's house with lots of men which were armed. Me, Roden, and Tobias hid in his secret tunnels. Connor then gave me a small box covered in emeralds to hide from Veldergrath. If he found us we would be dead, since Veldergrath is the last person who wants to see Prince Jaron return. Veldergrath told Connor that he was sitting with the king's family and poured their drinks the night they died. His intention was to say Connor poisoned them. Connor stole the box after they died. Veldergrath's men looked for the prince, since Connor said Prince Jaron may be alive. Imogen attacked a man with a fireplace poker to distract him from discovering the tunnels we were in. He attacked too, but I stabbed him with a sword in the gut and he died. Mott came and he took the dead man's sword and stabbed his arm so the men would think the man attacked Mott before he died. One day me and Mott were standing, watching a river. He asked me what kind of king I would be, like Veldergrath or like my father. I said, do you mean Egbert? I asked him if Connor was the one who killed my family. He did not answer since I was not declared the prince yet. Then Mott did, something I did not think anyone would discover until we went to the castle, and I proved I am Jaron. Mott discovered I was the real prince. He asked me for forgiveness that he never noticed before, and that he was looking at Sage the orphan, not Jaron the prince. He gathered all the clues since we met and discovered I am Prince Jaron. Connor picked Roden, but then changed his mind and picked me to become the prince. When we were going to the castle, Cregan wanted Roden to become the prince. The stronger of us would be the real prince. Me and Roden had a serious fight. I could have finished the fight, but I had promised him a long time before that if I am the prince then I would save him from being killed. I won the fight, so then Cregan ran at me with his knife. I think he was mad because he wanted Roden to win the fight and kill me. Mott saved me from Cregan. He started fighting Cregan and then stabbed him. Cregan died and his body was carried by the river with the crown. I was kind of hurt when Imogen helped and revealed she can talk. Before the fight, the guards did not let us in since they thought Connor was bringing a fake prince like the other noblemen. I was not allowed to enter, only Connor since he was a regent. I remembered there was a way in the kitchen from when I was younger, so I insisted to Connor that I would enter from the kitchen with a pin as the key. Connor entered the throne room and Connor asked Joth Curwen, High Chamberlain to King Egbert, for forgiveness for coming late. Curwen made the announcement, Egbert, the queen, and Darius died. I was very sad. Connor said Prince Jaron survived the pirate attack 4 years ago, and he is coming. In the hallway there were so many people surprised because they saw Prince Jaron. I only recognized Kerwin and I proved I am the real prince, telling everything I did with Kerwin and as the prince. My dad gave me a small rock in a small bag in the church. I called that rock gold. I gave it to Kerwin and he said imitators gold. Then he pulled out a note from his pocket from Egbert. I was curious to know what it's about, and it said many may try to claim the throne of Jaron, but the one way to know is if they have a fake golden rock and call it gold. Then I was declared the real prince. Connor did not believe I was actually the real prince. I told Veldergrath he is no longer the prime regent, and I gave the job to Connor. I told everyone that I went to orphanages and went by the name Sage. Then I called the guards to take Veldergrath away. Then Amarinda came and we danced. After that Tobias brought the crown that was in the river. Then Connor crowned me and Kerwin gave a ring that was my father's. Then I said I want Bevan Connor arrested for attempted murder of Prince Jaron 4 years ago, the murder of Orphan Latimer. Also for the murders of King Egbert, Queen Erin, and Crown Prince Darius. I found out that Connor poisoned my family by searching in your library and bedroom for books. It was oil pressed from the Dervani's flower. Thank you for listening to Presenting My Life Events.